I, 26F, find myself in a situation that's slowly eroding my marriage and my sanity. It involves my husband Bruce, 28M, and his best friend Alex, 30M. I've been with Bruce for 6 years, married for 3, and I thought I knew what I was getting into when I said I do. But now I'm not so sure. Bruce and Alex have been inseparable since they were kids. They grew up on the same street in a small town in Oregon, where everyone knew everyone else's business. Bruce was the shy, bookish type, always with his nose in a comic book or playing video games. Alex was the golden boy, charismatic, athletic, and popular. By all accounts, they shouldn't have been friends, but they clicked from day one. I met Bruce in college. We were both English majors, bonding over our shared love of obscure poetry and indie films. He was different from the guys I'd dated before. Thoughtful, kind, and genuinely interested in what I had to say. Our relationship progressed quickly, and before I knew it, I was head over heels. And then Alex entered. Bruce had told me stories about his best friend, but nothing prepared me for the whirlwind that was Alex. He breezed into our lives during spring break of our junior year, all charm and easy smiles. I remember thinking he looked like he'd stepped out of a J. Crew catalog. Perfectly messy hair, bright green eyes, and a smile that could melt ice. At first, I was thrilled that Bruce had such a close friend. Growing up as an only child with parents who moved around a lot for work, I'd never experienced the kind of bond Bruce and Alex shared. They had inside jokes that spanned decades, could communicate with just a look, and seemed to genuinely enjoy each other's company. But as time went on, I started to notice things. The way Alex's eyes would linger on me a bit too long. How he always managed to sit next to me at group gatherings. The subtle touches that could be passed off as friendly but felt charged with something more. I tried to brush it off. After all, Alex was a notorious flirt. He'd had a string of girlfriends throughout college, never settling down with anyone for more than a few months. I figured it was just his nature, and as long as I maintained clear boundaries, everything would be fine. Bruce and I got married right after graduation. It was a small ceremony in Bruce's hometown, with Alex as the best man. I still remember his toast. He talked about how Bruce had always been there for him, through thick and thin, and how he knew I would make Bruce happy because I was basically the female version of him. At the time, I thought it was sweet. Now, those words haunt me. After the wedding, Bruce and I moved to Seattle for his job at a tech startup. I found work as a copywriter for a local advertising agency. Life was good. We were young, in love, and building our future together. Alex moved to Seattle 6 months later. He claimed it was for a job opportunity, but I couldn't help wondering if there was more to it. He quickly became a fixture in our lives, always dropping by unannounced, joining us for dinner, tagging along on weekend trips. Things started to change about a year ago. Alex began dating Sierra, a pediatric nurse he met at a charity event. She was sweet and down to earth, and for a while I thought Alex had finally found someone who could keep him grounded. But 3 months ago, they broke up. Alex was devastated. Apparently Sierra wanted to have children, but Alex had gotten a vasectomy years ago, adamant that he didn't want kids. The breakup was messy, with Alex accusing Sierra of trying to change him. Since then, Alex has been leaning on us, particularly me, for emotional support. He'll call or text at odd hours, wanting to talk about his feelings or seeking advice. I've noticed he rarely reaches out to Bruce for these heart-to-hearts, preferring to confide in me instead. Last weekend, things came to a head. We were at a mutual friend's birthday party, and Alex had clearly had too much to drink. Bruce was engrossed in a game of pool with some colleagues, leaving me to deal with an increasingly handsy Alex. He cornered me in the kitchen, his breath reeking of whiskey. "You know," he slurred, leaning in close, "Bruce is a lucky guy. If I'd met you first." He trailed off, his hand coming to rest on my waist. I froze, unsure of how to react without causing a scene. Thankfully, another friend walked in at that moment, breaking the tension. Alex stumbled away, leaving me shaken and confused. Now, I'm at a loss. Do I tell Bruce about Alex's behavior? I'm worried it could destroy their friendship, and I don't want to be the cause of that. But I also can't continue like this, constantly on edge around someone who's supposed to be a close friend. To make matters worse, we have a camping trip planned next month, just the 3 of us. It's an annual tradition that started back in college, but the thought of being isolated in the woods with Bruce and Alex for a whole weekend fills me with dread. I love Bruce with all my heart, and I value the friendship we've built with Alex over the years. But I'm starting to feel like I'm caught in the middle of something I never asked for. There's a part of me that wonders if I'm overreacting. Maybe Alex is just going through a rough patch and needs support. Maybe I'm reading too much into innocent gestures. But then I remember the look in his eyes at the party, the weight of his hand on my waist. and I know in my gut that something isn't right. I've thought about talking to Sierra, Alex's ex, to get her perspective, but I'm worried that might be crossing a line. Plus, I don't want to drag her into this mess if I'm just imagining things. Bruce has always been somewhat oblivious to social cues. It's one of the things I love about him, his innocent, trusting nature. But now, I find myself wishing he were more perceptive. Maybe if he noticed Alex's behavior, I wouldn't have to be the one to bring it up. I'm lost and could really use some advice. How do I navigate this minefield without blowing up my marriage or my husband's most important friendship? Should I confront Alex about his behavior? Or do I need to have a serious conversation with Bruce about setting some boundaries with his best friend? I feel like I'm walking a tightrope, and one wrong move could send everything crashing down. Any insights or experiences would be greatly appreciated. Update 1. It's been a month since my original post, and I wish I could say things have improved. Unfortunately, the situation has only become more complicated and distressing. First, I want to thank everyone who responded to my original post. Your advice and support gave me the courage to have a conversation with Bruce about Alex's behavior. It didn't go as well as I'd hoped. When I brought up my concerns, Bruce was initially dismissive. He laughed it off, saying, "That's just how Alex is. He's a friendly guy." When I pressed the issue, describing some of Alex's more inappropriate actions, Bruce's demeanor changed. He became defensive, accusing me of misinterpreting things, or worse, encouraging Alex's attention. "Maybe you're the one who's developing feelings for him," Bruce snapped. "Is that why you're suddenly so obsessed with his behavior?" I was stunned. I've never given Bruce any reason to doubt my loyalty, and his accusation hurt deeply. We argued for hours, with Bruce vacillating between dismissing my concerns and accusing me of impropriety. By the end of the night, we were sleeping in separate rooms, and the tension in our house was palpable. The next day, Bruce apologized for his outburst, but I could tell he still didn't fully believe me. He suggested that maybe I was just feeling insecure because of how close he and Alex are. It felt like he was gaslighting me, making me question my own perceptions. Despite my misgivings, we went ahead with the camping trip as planned. I hoped that being in a neutral environment might help clear the air. I couldn't have been more wrong. The first night around the campfire started pleasantly enough. We roasted marshmallows, shared stories, and for a while it felt like old times. But as the night wore on and the beer flowed freely, things took a turn. Alex, emboldened by alcohol, became increasingly flirtatious. He kept finding excuses to sit next to me, his thigh pressing against mine. At one point, while Bruce was fetching more firewood, Alex leaned in close and whispered, "You know, I've always wondered what it would be like if we'd met first, before Bruce." I recoiled, making it clear his advances were unwelcome, but the damage was done. Bruce returned just in time to see me pushing Alex away, and his face darkened with anger and hurt. The rest of the trip was a disaster. Bruce alternated between giving me the cold shoulder and picking fights over trivial things. Alex, seemingly oblivious to the tension he'd caused, continued to try and engage me in private conversations. By the time we returned home, I felt like I was walking on eggshells in my own marriage. Bruce's trust in me seemed shattered, and he began checking my phone when he thought I wasn't looking. He started making snide comments about my relationship with Alex, implying that I was the one pursuing his best friend. Things came to a head last week when Bruce announced that Alex would be staying with us for a while. Apparently, Alex had lost his job and needed a place to crash until he got back on his feet. Bruce didn't even consult me before making this decision. I tried to protest, explaining how uncomfortable I was with the idea, but Bruce shut me down. "He's my best friend," he said coldly. "I'm not going to abandon him just because you're feeling insecure." So now Alex is living in our guest room. The atmosphere in the house is unbearable. Bruce spends most of his time with Alex, leaving me feeling like an outsider in my own home. When we are together, Bruce is distant and suspicious, questioning my every move. Alex, for his part, seems to be reveling in the situation. He's constantly around, inserting himself into every aspect of our lives. He walks around shirtless, makes suggestive comments when Bruce isn't within earshot, and finds excuses to be alone with me. I feel like I'm losing my mind. My marriage is crumbling, my husband doesn't trust me, and I'm living under the same roof as someone who's actively trying to undermine my relationship. I've thought about leaving, but where would I go? Bruce and I moved to this city for his job, and all our friends here are really his friends. I feel isolated and trapped. I don't know what to do anymore. How did things spiral so out of control? How do I fix this mess when my husband won't even listen to me? I'm starting to wonder if there's any way to salvage my marriage, or if I'm fighting a losing battle. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. I feel like I'm drowning, and I don't know how much longer I can stay afloat. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and I'm still reeling from everything that's happened. I want to thank everyone who reached out with support and advice. Your words gave me strength when I needed it most. The situation with Bruce and Alex continued to deteriorate. Living under the same roof as Alex became unbearable. He grew bolder in his advances, often cornering me when Bruce wasn't around. I felt like a prisoner in my own home, constantly on edge and afraid to be alone. Bruce's behavior didn't improve either. He became increasingly paranoid, accusing me of sneaking around with Alex behind his back. The trust between us was completely shattered. One night, after a particularly nasty argument, Bruce stormed out of the house. He didn't come back until the next morning, reeking of alcohol and refusing to tell me where he'd been. I knew I couldn't continue living like this. I reached out to my sister Emma, who lives a few hours away. I confided in her about everything that had been happening. She was horrified and immediately offered me a place to stay. The day I decided to leave was both the hardest and easiest of my life. I waited until both Bruce and Alex were out of the house. I packed a bag with essentials, wrote a note explaining that I needed some time away to think, and left my wedding ring on the kitchen counter. As I drove away, I felt a mixture of relief and heartbreak. I've been staying with Emma for the past week, trying to process everything that's happened. Bruce has been calling and texting nonstop, alternating between angry accusations and tearful pleas for me to come home. I've blocked Alex's number entirely. Yesterday, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Sierra, Alex's ex-girlfriend. She had heard through mutual friends about what was happening and wanted to talk. What she told me left me stunned. Apparently, Alex has a history of pursuing his friends' partners. Sierra revealed that before they started dating, Alex had made advances on his previous best friend's girlfriend, causing a huge rift in their friendship group. She also told me that Alex's vasectomy story was a lie. He had never had one. He simply used it as an excuse to break up with women when things got too serious. Armed with this new information, I decided it was time to confront Bruce. I asked him to meet me at a neutral location, a coffee shop halfway between Emma's place and our home. When Bruce arrived, he looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. Before he could say anything, I laid out everything I knew. Alex's history, his lies, and his persistent harassment. I told Bruce about all the times Alex had made me uncomfortable, the things he said and did when Bruce wasn't around. To my surprise, Bruce broke down. Through tears, he confessed that he had suspected something was off with Alex for a while, but didn't want to believe it. He admitted that his accusations and paranoia stemmed from his own insecurities and fear of losing me. Bruce revealed that the night he didn't come home, he had actually confronted Alex about his behavior. Alex had denied everything, gaslighting Bruce and playing on their years of friendship. Bruce, confused and hurt, had spent the night driving around, trying to sort out his feelings. We talked for hours, laying everything out on the table. Bruce apologized profusely for not believing me, for letting his insecurities cloud his judgment, and for putting our marriage in jeopardy. He told me he had kicked Alex out of our house the day after I left, finally seeing through his manipulations. I'm still processing everything. While I'm relieved that Bruce finally believes me, I'm hurt that it took me leaving for him to see the truth. The trust between us has been severely damaged, and I'm not sure if it can be fully repaired. For now, I'm staying with Emma. Bruce and I have agreed to start couples counseling to work through our issues. We both recognize that we have a long road ahead of us if we want to save our marriage. As for Alex, Bruce has cut all ties with him. We've heard through the grapevine that he's trying to spin the story to make himself look like the victim, but thankfully, most of our friends have seen through his lies. I'm taking things one day at a time. I'm focusing on healing and figuring out what I want for my future. Whether that future includes Bruce remains to be seen, but I'm committed to putting myself first and not letting anyone make me feel unsafe or unvalued ever again. Thank you all for your support through this ordeal. Your advice and kind words have been a lifeline during the darkest moments. I'll update again when I have more clarity on where things stand.